or like the previous sessions or any topics if you want to ask, feel free to ask. Next point is, um, I hope you guys have already started Node.js. If not started, it's the time that we at least get started with that, and we'll learn about it. All right. The point here is just a quick overview what we did in the last session. So, and we are going to create a server today also. So we'll see that also. The point was, when we say something about a server, so server is basically something which receives a request for a data, or let's say any kind of resource. It can be an image, PDF, or any kind of resource. It receives a request, and based on that request, any resource is served. Resource can be anything, so any file, any binary data, HTML file. So most of the time, whatever you request, for example, if you go to, like, let's say codingninjas.com, so when you hit the request, so you're requesting for several HTML pages, you're requesting for images you see, maybe the PDF data or some things, or maybe sound, and all those things are also there, which gets with the request. Now, the thing is, you just have to care about the URL. If the URL is correct and the user ID is set up, means you are authorized, everything is going good. The same thing happens with our Node.js server also. Till the point you are having a good URL or the correct URL, there's nothing other things you need. So to use that server. Now, so the URL which you need for the resource, that should be having all the information that you need for a resource. So just an example, I saw you this URL. You are having all the courses and all everything in over. So text, images, and everything. Moving on. So what we did? So we said HTTP is a module. Okay. Before that, I hope you guys have already installed Node.js in your machine. How to verify that? So you can just open terminal and type node minus v, and you will see the node version. If not installed, please install it, because this has to be inside your machine. Node.js enables us to run JavaScript code outside the browser. In the complete front end, we were running the code inside our console, if you remember. Okay, so we are running the code inside here. The same thing can be done if you have installed Node.js. You can run the code anywhere in your machine. For example, I can run in VS Code, not exactly in VS Code, in VS Code terminal, so I can run in my system. So this is what we did. When you install Node.js, so I'm going step by step. First, install Node.js. Why? So that you can run JavaScript outside the browser. First step, and the reason. Second step, how to create a server. Just a second, guys. Okay, so the first step, to install Node. Why to install? To run JavaScript code. Second step, how to create a server. So basically, server we created with some modules. What are modules? We said that some people have already wrote some code. For example, if you see, I created two methods last in the last session. I created this add method, added exports. What is export? When you say export, JavaScript understand that this method has to be exported somewhere else. So you write code somewhere and you want to use it in some other file. So what is this file is called as module. Module is nothing but a file with JavaScript functions, which enables us to use outside that file. So this is the only thing you guys need to know. Okay. uh, what do I have written over here? So having a quick go through. HTTP code is already written by someone. Someone has written this module. Now, I just said what do I mean by module? Module is simple JavaScript file which has already written code for us. I will show you. So you can just control click on HTTP, and this is the HTTP file. Okay? So you do not have to edit it, and please do not edit it. Okay? So you can see that there are lots of code, and there's no, you will find lots of code you have already done. Okay, but yeah, my point here is some other people code is already written and we are using to create server. There are three steps, no more than three steps. There are just three steps. Import the module. When you import HTTP function or the module, the function, it's the same thing. Okay, you get a create server method. This create server method just requires a function or a callback, you can say. So I hope we are already familiar with callbacks. What are callbacks? So any function which runs on any event. For example, set timeout has a callback, event listeners has a callback. So those who are having callback, and this is how it functions. So this create server requires a callback. It says that first will be request and second will be the response object. We'll get into detail later. First, second step, and third step is to listen. So these are the three steps we created the server. So listening means, just a quick revision what we did in the last session. This is Google Chrome. I'm having my meetings right now. This is my VS Code. I can connect it to GitHub. I can get clone, or if you have already used GitHub, so you already know this part. You can get clone or do something. Or I have WhatsApp running on my system. Google Chrome, WhatsApp. Whenever any network request comes in, let's say someone is sending me message on WhatsApp. So my system or my computer does not know at the beginning who is going to receive this message, because there is a single network card in all the machines. All machines have single network card. Okay, but there can be lots of application connected to internet. So how to separate all of them, like who will receive the message? This is the question. That is done by the application port number on the machine. Port number is the logical address given to every application in your machine which is connected to internet. Google Chrome is having a port number, WhatsApp will be having a port number. Similarly, my server is going to have a port number because it is going to connect it to internet. So that is why it has to hold a, so port number is like basically any unique number between, mostly we choose 3000 to 10,000. I will just show you the specific range, and you can use any number inside this. So you have to listen to that port. So any request coming to 8000 will be received my received by my server. So this was the logic we did in the last session. Just a quick thing. I will run it and we'll proceed forward. Okay, there was one more thing we created in the last session. Okay, so I guess we are already covered with the node modules part, but let's start the server first. I want to say something. So just a quick revision. So how do we start a server? So how do we start a server, guys? If I want to start this file, how can I start it with Node?
It's a node mode, so you already installed it yesterday.
Okay, so we already installed node mod. What if I want to run a single file? Can I say node and the file name? Is this right? Okay. So if you want to run a single file in a directory, you can directly say node and the file name. So you can see that server successfully started, where it is written in the lesson part. So server successfully started. Okay, so let's see. I will hit it, give it a get request. So how to give a get request? Just go to the URL in the browser. Okay, so it says you shouldn't be here. So this is not a good message at all, I know, but I want to show you something, guys. You see this create server function. So listen function is enabling my browser request to listen to this server. Okay, but who is directing? Who is printing this message? Who is handling this? What do you guys think? Which method is handling this? Create server, right? Okay, so we just talked that there are three steps, and the second step is the one which is having the request handler. Okay, so this is the request handler. Request, what do we mean by request handler? Someone who is handling the request. That is so simple, as simple as possible. Okay, someone who is handling the request. So this function you see, arrow function, is handling the request. How do we know the URL? So you see that we have two objects. One is request, other is response. Who sends the request? This time, who made the request? My browser, right? So browser made the request. Okay, and who formed the response object? My server formed the response object. This it's the same client server architecture we covered in JavaScript, if you remember. So they're the same client server architecture. So client is responsible to send the request and server is responsible to send the response. So this is the two-way communication going on. Okay. Now my point is, if the request URL, so okay, this request object has lots of things inside it. One of them is a URL property. Okay, so URL is anything apart from this localhost 8000. Everything is considered as URL. For example, slash home is an URL. Okay, and you can see that content this time is changed. Whatever I receive in console, so I am consoling request.url. I see that slash home is something what I have got. You see this condition over here, line number 11. What does it say? So it says that if request home is this one, do something. If request is index, do something. So what I'm doing, that is the second question. But the first thing is, this is index. Okay, and you can see that something other is being rendered over here. So this is how it is working. And the first message you saw, if both conditions do not work, the last is you shouldn't be here. So you just saw this one in the first place. Okay. Now, what is this inside this? So just a quick go through. So FS module is also there, similar to this HTTP module. FS module is basically the file system module. Okay, file system module which is already present. So what are the features of file system module? What we can do with file system module? Can anyone tell? So what are the things possible?
read files. You can
Okay.
read the files.
Okay. So we can read the files. We can write the file, right? Okay. uh, I can delete it also. Okay. So all the files in my directory, I can do this outside the directory also. So Node.js is powerful, so powerful that it can delete, it can make, it can read your system files also. That is totally possible. No issues in that. Similarly, so this HTML file is read by my read file function of file system module. So these are already there. So you guys would be thinking like how to remember all this. You do not have to, because everything is already present in the documentation. Just have a go through of the documentation. I will share the links with you. Okay, and you can see that this is reading file, and this is the syntax. This syntax never changes. Okay, so don't worry, no change in the syntax. You don't have to struggle that much. Just know that how to do this, and you will be able to uh, do that part. So you can see that response.writehead. So what is this response.writehead? So we'll study something about headers today. Okay, we'll see that what are headers, and we'll know that why it is done. And finally, the response. So in the response, we are sending the data. So the request is just used for the information, and the response is the basically which is responsible for the data to be sent. So this is what we are having. All right, guys. Now let's talk about this one. But before this, I guess it will be better we get started with Express today. Okay. So let me create a new folder in over here. So I'll say Express app. Go through of everything we did in the last session. Opening the terminal in my VS Code. First step. The first step was how to initialize a node project. Okay. Just a quick revision. The first command you run is npm init. Okay. Okay, so there will be some things asked from you. Okay, you can just enter things in over here. So it is asking for author. I will supply the author's name. Okay, and finally done. JSON we already know. Okay, so JSON we know that it's a JavaScript object notation with some rules inside it, and this is what we have. So basically, JSON is a simple JavaScript object which has key value pairs. Now object is key value pairs, and we see that. So the name of my application, versioning, description, the main file which is being called, okay, at the first point, index.js, and some scripts. This scripts will only be used to do actions. We'll just see this in a minute. So it is possible to create a server with help of, okay, it is totally possible to create a server with help of HTTP module. But today we are going to learn something about framework. So maybe this is your first framework you're going to learn. So see this guys. What is framework? We'll discuss that also. There are two things: library and a framework. First thing, library. jQuery is a library which we have already used. Okay, so there are a set of functions in that, and you can use that functions. You can call that functions in your let's say application, and you can just use it. So what's next? The point is, frameworks are a bit different. So these are not like libraries. They are a kind of set of a structure. Okay, so there's a structure set, and uh, basically you have to follow that structure in things too, in order for the things to run. So how do we do it? So we can say that. Okay, what is Express say? Express is fast, unopinionated, minimalist web framework for Node.js. So it's a framework for Node.js and for creating server, backend servers. It is fast and unopinionated means we do not have any strict rule to how to do it. And minimalist means minimum requirement will be needed to create a server. Okay, so that is what it is being written. How to start with it? Okay, I want to show you something else, guys. Till now, uh, whenever we use any third party application, for example Bootstrap, or let's say jQuery, or let's say Animate CSS in front end, so we just went to their site and got some CSS and JavaScript URLs and put as a link tag or the script tag in our page. But when we move to backend now, like the Node.js, so things are a bit managed and easy to do. Okay, so you do not have to take care of lots of things. They're easy to do and manageable. Here's the point. Let me create a file also, index.js. So why every time I name it index.js? Because by default main is index.js. By default index.js means if I say, okay, we'll see that part, why index.js is being named over here. Now, so express, similar to the other modules, other packages, http file system are already there, but some of them do not come with the node.js, so you have to install them separately. So for that, there is something called as npm. What do I mean by npm? What do we mean by npm? Npm is Node Package Manager. Node because it's Node. Package, the modules are called package. Manager is the manager who manages all the things. So this is what npm is. That already get installed with Node. When you install Node, so you npm will already be installed if you are on Windows. I guess for Unix based system like Mac and Ubuntu, you have to do it separately sometime, but yeah, most of the time it will be installed. Okay. Now this npm will help us use other people's code. This, so the first one is we are going to see is something called as Express. Okay, so we go went through this Express thing. Okay, this is the Express official documentation, and this is npm directory for Express. Okay, so you will see that this much downloads, weekly downloads is there. Okay, so 2 crore 55 lakhs and something is there. How to install it? So you can simply say npm I express. Okay, let's install it. Now I have Express installed. So there are two changes in my files. So one is the node modules. Basically, other people's code come in this node module. Okay, so other people who have written the code now, all the codes come into this files, and we shouldn't be touching these files. Like touching means reading. Okay, so we are reading just, so that is good, but no write should be performed. Okay, anytime. Never we should never do that. It will fail. Okay, so just read it. So good. And there is a package log JSON. Package contains information about my project. Log contains information about the node modules and my package. So whatever the packages you have installed, so other people's like the things and whatever the versions are there, that is installed. So versions of the packages are installed in package log. All right. So moving on with the Express. Okay, so let's create our first Express server. See this, guys. Const Express is equals to require import. So for exporting, we do export dot function name. For importing, we write require. I hope this part is clear. What were the three steps of creating a server when we use HTTP module? So what were the three steps? First, to get the HTTP module. Second,
Create service.
create server, and the third one is
Listen, sir.
listen. Let's see the three of them. And obviously the port number is anyways required. So I will say port, and this is going to be 1,000. Okay. How does it work? Okay, let's write the listen first, and then we'll proceed. But before listen, I have to do one more thing. So to initialize the Express app, I have to say something like this. Okay. App.express, and that is it. That is it. Now everything is done in over here. I do not need to create a create server function. It's already will be handled. We'll see this. How to use app. So you can say app.listen, app.listen, and there's a callback when over here. So app.listen, and the first one is the port. Okay, and the second is the first one is the port, and the second one is the function we have in over. Similarly, I can say that console.log, and I can say server successfully started. Server successfully started, and this should be inside an string. All right, guys. So this is the first thing. Okay, what's the next? Now, here we do not need to say that create server or all those kind of things. Okay, so here basically Express says something like this. See this, guys. How many types of request type? So how many request types we have read? What are the request type?
Yes, sir. Get, post,
Mm-hmm.
attach, put.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Patch, delete, right?
Patch, yes, sir. Patch.
Now, Express directly says no need to create server function. Do something like this: app.get, and that is it. The name. So the name will be the first is name. So name means the URL. Okay. So you can say that slash home. Okay. And here comes the second thing, which will get the request and the response. Previously, if you remember, in create server function, we are doing if request.url is equals to this, do this, else if request.url do this, else do this. Instead of doing something like that, Express says you do not have to do this. Just write app.get, write the name and handle it. You want to create another one? Write another one. You want to create another one? Write another controller. So as many URLs or endpoints you want to expose, do that. That is totally possible. So just a quick one, doing a requesting. Okay, sorry, printing the request and URL so that we see that server is running. Okay, you see, there are three things we did. First is express. Okay, second we initialize it. Okay, and we are listening to it. So this is the get function we are having. So this is acting as create server. Okay, but that is not need to do now. Okay, for get request do this. For post another we'll see. I'll just starting the server. So since I okay, we'll install Node1 also, but for time being, let's say that we can do Node index this, and this is good. Okay, no issues till now. So this is Express app, and it's successfully started. Let's get this slash home. So I'll say localhost 8000 slash home. Okay. So I'm seeing that slash home is being triggered. The request URL is being triggered. So that is good. Okay. I will stop this one. Okay. Come back. All it is. My point is, we already know that how to serve a complete file with file system, right? We just saw in the previous server, right? How to do it. Okay. Now here is the easy part, guys. There is an easy thing to do. You don't need to say that okay, go get file, read file, and do all those things. You don't have to do that. Okay, just you need to say that um, okay. So express allows us to expose a complete folder. Okay, so express allows us to expose a complete folder. How do we do it? Instead of reading separate files and sending them one by one, express can do for the complete folder, and that too with very easy. Suppose that at slash home, I want to say that response. Okay, so I want to say that return response dot. Okay, so response dot send and let me show you something, so that I can also get a good revision. So coming back to the documentation. Okay, so first thing, how to serve a files from there. Going to static files. What do we mean? Okay, before I move, what do I mean by static? That is the thing. So there are two kind of. So there are two things. Firstly, data is okay. Whenever you get a HTML file, there are two things happening. Either data is filled on browser, or HTML is coming with all the data. I will give you example. You will know what I am telling. If you remember the XHR or the Fetch API lectures, two things we did. We loaded the HTML file in the browser with static data, and when we came into the browser, we hit that get image button. So some data was already coming statically, but get image button was getting some dynamic data, or getting the NASA image or some dynamic data. Is the thing clear what I'm telling? From browser you can make any fetch call and you can do changes in your file. So that thing is dynamic, whereas static is images, PDFs, JavaScript files, CSS files, some HTML files. You already get the data built in. You do not do anything. So that is what we mean by static. Says you do not need to read file any every time. Do something like this: express.static, write the root directory. That's it. So let's do that. I will say express, okay, dot static, okay, express dot static, and I will add the root. So I will say assets, okay. So this is the assets. Let me include some files in it. So you can say this is an index file. All right, and I guess this is it. Next thing. Okay, one more thing, guys. This express.static is going to be inside app.use. And why app.use? Okay, two things. This we understand, this get we understand, but use we do not understand for now. So we'll see. Use is for using middlewares. What do I mean by middlewares? That is a separate discussion. We'll do that. But for now, understand that everything you do from here is accessible for accessible in over here. Okay. Now I can send this HTML file. Okay, so I can send this file. Right. So in render, so shall I? Okay, so in the render function, should I send the view thing? But I have to define the view option also. So for the time being, options. Okay. So for the time being, okay, let me redirect it. Okay, to say this one. You can see that index.html. Okay, so index.html. So whenever I go to slash home, I go to index.html. Is that possible? Let's see that also. All right. So whenever I go to home, and here comes the issue, I need to restart the server. Okay, so this is an index file. We can see that I came to the slash home URL and I've been directed to this index.html file. This redirect is happening because of this one. Okay, so slash home and we are redirecting to this file. So okay, how is this possible without reading? So if you remember, we had to do fs.read file in the last lecture, but since we have exposed the assets folder completely, I can write any path I want to. Okay, I can direct to any path, any file I want to access. For example, I can create a you can say home.html also, and I can just say slash home.html, and that is also totally possible from this. Alright, yes, coming back. So this is how you do it. So you can have more than expose more than one directories. That is totally possible. So okay, how do I send? So for the render, so render HTML. Okay, one more thing. So you can search for a render function. Okay, so how do I render plain HTML? See this, guys. Okay, so this is not the error handler I want. Okay, ठीक है. How do I render plain HTML? So you can see that you don't. There's no need to render HTML. Okay, so response with the response dot if you have a specific file, use if you have a specific file, use send file function if you are serving many assets. Okay, let's do the send file thing then. So one way to do this. Otherwise, if you do not want to direct it, so you can say send file. Let's try this one also. So what does send file accept? Send file accepts the path. I guess we have given the path, but do I need to supply the complete path? That is one question. So let's see. So I need to say slash assets and this, or will it work? So there are multiple ways to do the same thing, guys. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to tell you. And the second thing, which is very very important, is how to go through the documentation so that next time you know how do you need it. Okay, so how to know that this thing is possible. Okay, that's the first and important thing. So let's see if this set file works. But before I start my server again, let's install nodemon, so which we saw in the last session. So npm I nodemon, so that I do not need to do the server start again and again. Let me write the script also, so I can say start nodemon index.js, and that is it. All right, guys. So I will say now once you have written the script, scripts can be like this. All right, let me go to the URL. So slash home. Okay, let's see. This thing is being searched. So it says that there is no file or directory slash index.html. Makes sense. Makes sense. Completely makes sense because we need to supply the path now, the complete path. So what the complete path? So sets. Let's see. Do I need to add slash? Let's try. Maybe this would work. Okay. Underscore dir name plus. Let's do this. Coming back, guys. What is dir name? So dir name is, what do you guys think? What is dir name?
Directory.
Yes, the directory name. And since I got the directory name, so it has a asset folder inside it, and inside the asset folder I have the index system. Makes sense, guys? How
Yes,
send?
sir.
Okay.
Send the file.
All right, guys. Okay, so this is much about like how do you do things. Okay, let's go to our API building thing. Today we are going to see how to build our first REST APIs with help of Express framework. Just give me a second, guys. हाँ भाई, सेशन चला, सेशन सेशन बाद फोन करता हूँ. Alright, guys. So we saw how to share this file one. Okay. Now the next is how to. Okay. Basically, here's the thing, guys. APIs. What do we mean by APIs? So what do we mean by APIs, guys?
application programming.
Hmm. Okay, so application programming interface. Interface is something any user can, like, let's say, use that or whatever be the usable thing. Now, here is the key. So, creating our get request first and moving with the other ones. So, I'll just comment this part out since we already did this. And basically, when we say server, so we need some data and some manipulation inside it. Get request is getting some data from the server. Post request is adding some data to the server. For today, we will not, since we didn't study what is it, the database for now. So I'm going to use an array of objects. Okay, and inside this I will have some dummy values. And for today, let's deal with this one. For once we are up with the server, sorry, the database server, we will get started with the real data. So this is also you can say a real data, dummy data, also anything else can be said. So let's do our operations on this one. So this is the array. The point here is first call app.get. Okay, so app.get slash the first API is fetch data. And okay, so there are two things, guys. Sometimes I will say URL, sometimes I will say endpoint. What do I mean by endpoint and what do I mean by URL? The complete URL we see here is this complete thing is at the address bar is said as a URL. Whereas what you see slash this now, this is called as the end point. As the name suggests, end point. End means which is the ending part. Okay, so which is the basically a unique identifier or combination we have here. So this is fetch data. Okay. Now this fetch data will require something in response. So I will send the array. So this is my data. Since I don't have database, so I will send this data. This is the data for three students in a class. Okay, so I can say that response dot status, which is 200 dot JSON. Okay, inside this I can send the JSON body. Inside this JSON body, I can say data, and I can supply the array. Let's test this. So before I move to testing in the browser, is capable of doing post request and get request, nothing other than that. For that, we are going to study about a tool. We call it as Postman. How many of you have used that tool? If not, I'm sharing some insights about this tool and why it is needed for a backend developer. So let's go to postman.com. It says that over 20 million developers use Postman. Get started by signing up or downloading the desktop app. The point is, this is an API testing tool, API, whatever we are creating, and it is available for all them. Guys, one more thing. How many of you are on Linux or Mac or still using Windows?
Still using Windows, but I know about the Linux. You want?
Okay, so if Mac, good. If Ubuntu, great. So if you have access to Linux, that is super cool. I would suggest switch to Ubuntu as soon as possible, because I will be typing in some commands which will run in Ubuntu. You can do it in Windows also, but there is a hacky solution. Do not have a direct support. So
Yes,
please,
sir. I have, sir. I already installed npm.
in Windows, right?
In Windows as virtual machine, I have installed it.
Okay,
U1.
okay. Okay. But like in the industry, basically, either people work on Mac or like most of the industry work on Linux. So that would be like uh, better for us. Okay. All right. Coming back to the point. Now see, the Postman says that. So I already have Postman. How do I use it? See this, guys. So this is Postman. It says that this is the interface, the basic interface when you open Postman. You have to give the endpoint over here. Okay. You have to give the endpoint over here. You have to give the method type over here, and this is just to send the request. So testing our get request with this fetch data thing. Okay, so let's replace this, okay, with fetch data, and let's test it. So you can see that this get request and this I'm getting this data over here. Are you guys getting the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do I send the JSON data? See the response. A response dot status dot JSON and an object. So JSON data means, and normal JavaScript data. So object basically. So data is, this data key is having all the arrays which is being presented. The first thing. Okay. App dot get. Why is it to specify get? Let me try post. Will it work, or it will throw error? What do you guys think?
You will throw a, sir. Like,
Correct, very correct. Why it is throwing error?
because we mentioned it is ap dot getter, but we requested as a post, but there is no post
Correct. We do
in
not
post.
have post endpoint yet. So here comes the post. Okay, you can say app.post, and no issues. Like you can just say add data, and you will be adding the data now. So request comma response. Okay. Again, the same structure. Okay. So just a second, guys. The same structure in over here, and basically return a response dot status and 200. Okay, dot status dot 200 dot JSON, and giving the data in over. Alright, guys. So this is just a sample post request. Okay, sample post request. But as per the definition, post request is something which is sending data to me. For example, post request can be used. So if you are submitting a form, so submitting a form means like submitting form to any database, a student form, and the student is added to the record. So something like this is being done. Okay. So similarly, you have this response dot status dot JSON. Okay, and you have the data in over. So basically, how do you receive the data from the like client? Anyone can be the client. Postman can be the client. Browser can be the client. Browser can be using fetch API. How do we receive the data? So
So yeah, request, they send me the request.
okay, okay. So we using the, so it is sure that request object will having the data. Is that sure, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Right.
So that is for sure that request is going to have the data. But what key? Request is very big. Let me show you something why very big. Either you use browser or you use Postman or any client in order to make a successful request. Apart from the uh, URL you sent some headers also. Why do we? So what do I mean by header? Basically, headers are extra information about who is making the request. Who are you? Like who are you to make the request? What is the information? User agent and all those things are required. Who is making the? If you remember, we talked that HTTP is a stateless protocol. Do you guys remember this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so stateless means it does not remember who made the first request. Every time you make request, every time you have to tell that, hey, I am making the request. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, now we can check out that this is content type. Okay, content length, host, and all those things are there. Okay, user agent means basically, if it is Chrome, it will be written Chrome, but it is Postman, so it is Postman. So that is why, so these are the things coming in the request. So how to get our exact thing? So there is a key which we say as body, request.body. This request.body will contain data which is being sent by the client. Okay, let me send the data. So how do I send the data? So go to this body tab which I'm already at. Okay, so go to this body tab. Here you will find key value, keys, values. Okay, so you see that I already added some keys and values. Okay, no issues at all. Let me add roll number field also. Okay, to maintain consistency. You can send extra field if you want, otherwise you can avoid it. Okay, so we are good. Let's send the add data. So let's hit the add data. Add data and the post request is code. Let's send it. So I see that the response is returned to me. Okay, so because we are returning, we are not adding or doing anything. But I see that request.body is undefined. Okay, request.body is undefined. Why is it the case? We just use something as middleware. Now, request, the body we are sending is basically in encoded, or you can say hidden format. If you see, there are some things which we need to select. First one is XWW form URL encoded. URL encoded means it is not directly accessible. You have to read it or decode it. So how to do that? That is one question. Here comes the solution. Every time, okay, tell me guys, when you write a form, when you write a HTML form, I'm talking about normal HTML form, to make a post request, how do you define it as a post request? Which attribute?
Met- Method, sir. Method equal to post.
Method attribute, I say post request. How do I define the URL which is going to get it?
Action, sir.
Action will be the URL. So see guys, you see this endpoint in over here. This is just what you write in action. We didn't see that. Now it is the time we see because we are creating backend. So that is what is required in action. There is a third thing guys. If you do not mention that attribute, there is something called as encryption type, which is encrypting our data. If you do not do this, you will be sending your data in a multi-part form data. That is the by default value for sending the data. But that is not required. The most common one is XWW form URL encoded. Okay? So this is how browser send the data to server encoded format. Now, in order to decode this, Express has a middleware. Middle for now, understand that middleware is a function. That's it. We'll study about middleware in very detail because Complete Express has lots of middleware in it, and we are going to see that. So to decode this, Express already says that Express dot URL encoded and call this, and that's it. Okay. So till now, request dot body was coming undefined. Now I added Express URL encoded, which is going to decode it. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Again made the request, but this time I am getting the body. Is it clear, guys? What is the use of URL encoded?
Yes, sir.
A request object didn't have any body object before. Okay, so that is why request dot body was coming
Defense.
undefined. What this did is, he this guy created a body object, added all the values in key value manner, and added that body object to request object, right? That is why we are going to, that is
Yes.
why we are getting the body object, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
body object didn't exist before. So this guy created a body object and added the key values and sent to us. Like, please have this. Now, since I have the request.body, which is an object, how do I add this object to my array? What should I say?
So, I where dot
Correct. Very correct. Very simple. Very simple, guys. This is so. Just do request.body. What else you need to do? That's it. Post request means you wanted to add something to it. So that is it. You added something to this. Let's do this. So do you guys see this? All right. And isn't it the same thing we added, right?
yes,
Okay. So we pushed into the array and returned the new array. So this is what we did. All right, guys. The next point. Okay, so the next point is basically this was the post thing we had. Okay, uh, now what? So get post. Okay, let me do the all three of them. Okay, we are good then. So app dot delete in over here. Okay, so deleting any element. Now, okay, so before it, so there's a good thing I request remember. So delete data. Okay, comma request comma response, and so deleting the data. Here is the point, guys. Delete data has to specify which data to delete. So which data to delete is needed with a URL. But the question is, how do we send the data from client? The one way was we just did is by using post request, right?
sir.
Okay. But my point is, there is a difference between HTTP's API and REST API. What is REST API? That is very debatable thing, but I will make it clear that REST API, when your name of the method type of the API and your work of your API is same, then we call as REST API. I can do so. Can you guys think I can do the delete thing with post also? I will send the data in post, and instead of pushing, I can do pop also, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but the name and the work of my function is
Same. Yes.
not same. Okay, it is not matching. I'm saying post, which should exactly add the data instead of deleting it. Okay, that is why we had delete request, patch request, put request. Okay, so when my method type and my work matches, we call those kind of API as REST API. Okay, so this is the difference between HTTP's API and REST API, normal API and the REST API. So previously we did not have delete, patch, and put, but now we have it. Am I being clear over here? What is the difference?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. See this, guys. So in the URL, there we can send dynamic data. Dynamic data. How do we have dynamic data? In my URL, I can say colon. I can put something like this, colon and something like this. This colon enables us to make this thing dynamic. How do I make it dynamic? So console.log, I can say that request dot, there's something called as params. Okay. Request has something called as params or parameters, which are which can have dynamic values. In our case, we have a roll number field. You see this roll number is available to us now. Okay. I can send this thing in URL. We call as this as queries and params. Now the point is this is a kind of params. Okay, this is params basically. I will get the roll number which I want to delete. Okay, How do I delete it from the array? So I can say that what method can delete this? I want to find that index and I want to delete it. How can I do it? Can I say can I say that const new array? Guys, remember about the filter method? The method filter, it says uh, the value, okay, the value, and there's a value, and value dot, you can say dot roll number, okay, not equals to uh, request dot parents dot roll number. Okay, so filter based on this condition. When this is true, it will be added to this new array. Okay, so apart from the roll number we are providing, give everything in the array. Is the syntax clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the roll number is not equals to this, add to this new array and do the same thing we did till now. So just copy this and send it. So we are sending the, so the URL is delete data and roll number. Okay, delete data and roll number. So let's delete 3 from here. Okay, and I can say instead of all right, guys. So instead of doing this roll number, since it is a dynamic field, I can say 3, and the request should be delete. And this is 3. Let's focus on this. So this is 3. Let's send the data. See, I'm not having 3 in my thing now. Is it making sense, guys? Okay. Let me delete 1. See, I'm not having 1. Are we getting this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So dynamic URL is possible with the help of the params property in my request. Apart from params, there is one more thing which helps us, that we call as queries. Okay. So instead of, either you do this or you can say something like this. Okay. So we have queries also. So if I just remove this part, so this is the param way to do it. There's a queries way to do it. Okay. So I can say that request dot query. Okay, query. But how do we say it? So instead of doing this, I can say colon roll number is equals to 2. Okay. So this is, so previous was the queries and this is, sorry, previous one was the params and this is queries. Okay. Did I do anything wrong in over here? Let's see this.
Yes, sir. Slash, sir.
Slash is not needed. This is, we are getting 2 in over here in roll number. That is correct. Oh, okay. So 2 is not here. Queries works like this only. Okay. Just put a question mark, the field and the value. And this is how we do this. So params and queries are the two ways to perform this functionality. All right, guys. Now, so just quickly covering one more of the request, one more type of the request, which is, let's say, okay, what is the difference between patch and put?
Put means inserting the depth setting. Patch means updating something like
Okay, so the difference, so both of them updates, but put says that if the data is not present, I will add that data, where patch is just to change the data. Make sense?
yes, yes, sir.
All right, guys. So just implementing patch. I hope you guys are like got the knowledge like how to do for put. If not, you can just put all the things. So I'll say that patch request and slash patch data. So patch data, adding a patched data, and basically I can say that request dot response response basically the patch data. Patch data would be getting the complete body. Just a second, guys. All right. So you can say console.log request.body to get the body, and this body would be getting the roll number based on the roll number. So see, a unique identifier is needed because which data to change? You need a unique identifier, so that's why I added roll number. So if I'm saying unique data is roll number, I can say that const. Okay. So the const. So my idea here is, so I have the unique roll number in my body. I will filter the array so that I remove the older element. Okay. And or I can do something like this. Find that element and change the properties. That would be the real update operation. How do we find that element and change its property? Let's see. So I will say that uh, const student, let's say all of them are a student. I would say that const student is equals to the array, okay, dot find. Okay, it says that finds all predicate once for each element at ascending order. It finds one which is predicate on where a predicate returns to. If such an element is found, find immediately returns that element value. Otherwise, returns undefined. So find will return the element itself or the value to you. Okay. All it is. Coming back to the point. So let's write the predicate. So predicate is basically um, the student basically. So I will write in small. So student, and basically if this student, so a student dot roll number. Okay, if this matches with a request dot body dot roll number. Okay, if these two matches, I will be getting a successful student object. I will just update this student object with my, so I will say student. Okay, and so let me make it let, otherwise I will not be able to change it. So the previous student properties, okay, with new student properties. Okay, so the request dot body. So this is the student I am getting on find method. Okay, it will return me the object where both roll number matches and the property is being replaced. Makes sense, guys? Is the syntax clear what I wrote?
Yes.
Okay, so this is syntax, and finally I okay, so finally whatever I'm getting in over here, okay, will it correctly replace it? Since I am adding this to same object, the reference may change. Uh, okay. My only concern is it going to create a new object or is going to edit the same one? Because since I'm creating a new object, it will create a new object and that object will not be changed. So it will lose its reference. This is my concern. So what's the solution? Okay, by this syntax, I'm assigning my student a new object. That is the concern over here. So I'm thinking, how do I do for the same object? All right, all right, guys. Anyways, let's just try to return it first. Okay, since we do not have the new array, we have the older one, the older array. Should I append this or push to the array, or what should I do? Okay, that is one great solution. So the previous can be deleted. Okay, so the previous can be deleted, and I can append this new one. That is so this is already changed. We are editing it. So I can say is create this new array thing. Okay, do this. Okay, once it is done, just you can say that this is the new array with filtered value. Okay, it does not have anything the previous student now, and push the new student. So new array. Okay, so new array dot push the new student inside it and supply the new array. What I did, just to reiterate, student get the student object, modify it, okay, delete the older student and push it to the newer array and supply it. All right, let's see this one. This is now going to be the patch request, and slash patch data is the only thing I require. You can see that I have created the patch data and roll number 12. Let me replace roll number 1. Okay, let's see. Okay, is it working? I guess no, because I am getting 1. So if it is already having, okay, let me do things. For example, let me console.log. Let me console.log student over here. Okay. The second console will be my new array. Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. The issue is I'm comparing this params. Okay. I need to do body, and only it will be creating the newer array. Okay. So let's do for one. So you can see that one is now deleted and replaced by this one. Let me do it for two. Okay. So this is a two. It should be replaced with the newer data. You can see that two is being replaced with a newer data. Make sense, guys? Uh, guys, it's making sense,
Sir,
right?
lost tab again. Very
Okay.
confusing.
Okay. Patch means to get identifier and replaced with the newer data. Okay, I will explain the code which is being written over here. Find method is finding a student based on the roll number. Is this line clear?
Sir.
At line number 62, I am whatever properties I am having new values I am merging to the older student so that the objects get replaced. See this. Okay, so this is a JavaScript issue. See this, guys. When you already have an object like this now, so let a is equals to any object which has property ab as 56, c as 34. Suppose that you are having this, okay, and you say let c is equals to, you say triple dot a, okay. Triple dot a means we are getting all values in over here, right? Spread operator,
Yes, sir.
okay. And when you say AB comma 45, so AB is already present. You see this? So AB is already present over here. Adding one more
sir.
AB, so it will replace the older AB. Make sense? See, C is not replaced, AB is replaced.
Okay, okay,
Okay. So since you cannot have how can you have duplicate keys, right? That is what. So since a roll number was there, I use this roll number to replace all the fields. So name is replacing the name, and roll number, email and password were already not present. So that is some extra we have added. We do not need to add this. Okay, let's do this again. So two, and the name should be ABCDEF, something like this. See, the name is edited. Make sense?
yes, sir.
So this is the syntax. So I hope this part is clear, guys. Next class we'll start with middleware and we'll discuss about middleware and things. So before we leave, let's
Okay, sir.
mark the attendance. Yeah, just a second. Let me find the sheet. This is group C, right?
Yes, sir.
So we have Toga here. We have Mahesh and Vikas was also there. All right. Let me. Right. Thank you so much. Let's meet next week. Okay.